and answer the most important questions about the upcoming Cowboys season. Franklin Frankel Injury Attorney text line is open for you. Here's your host, Zach Wolchuk.
Thank you. We've got the Athletic Fan Survey. Shout out to our guy, Jon Machota. Johnny Matches doing fantastic work out there. Let's go ahead and fill out this survey together, shall we? We start off with question number 1. How many games will your Dallas Cowboys win this season? Is it A, 13 or more? Is it B, 10 to 12? Is it C, 8 to 9? Or is it D, less than 8?
Obviously, you got to throw out the disclaimer with health. With health, there's only one clear answer to me. That's option B. Wolchuk.
10 to 12. Are we going 10 to 12?
I wish they had a 9 to 10 option because I think that's
I like
more
the 9
so
to 10.
where they're at. But
That's why they probably wanted to do this.
I think we're right about the 9 games myself.
You want to go 8 to 9?
Yeah.
Yep. You want to go 8 to 9?
We have to, man. We got to put our money where our mouth is.
All right, we'll go 8 to 9, although I like the 10 to 12 as well. But let's go 8
go
to
ahead.
9.
You
no,
can
no,
split
8
decision.
To 9, 8
It's
to
fine.
9,
Split
8
decision.
to 9. What will happen in January? Well, we know that.
They're going to S in their
helmets. They will at least reach the NFC Championship game.
No.
They will lose in the divisional round.
Possibly.
They will lose in the wild card round.
Definitely.
They will miss the playoffs.
Probably.
I think wild card round, one and done, you think? They're divisional. Because they're not making it to the NFC Championship.
Well,
we
think about
that.
this, okay, think about where they're going to have to go. Okay, if you get in, say you don't win the division, okay, so that means you're 9 and 8, you're going to have to go on the road.
So you go to Detroit.
Okay, that would be, is that going to be your second seed?
Yeah,
you're going to be 7,
We're going
right?
to Detroit or Green Bay or L.A. or San Francisco.
Yeah, I think all those are.
I think
are
San
good
Francisco's probably 1 in this thing. I think they're the 1 seed.
Get them 1.
I think that I think Green Bay would be
I got Green Bay winning the NFC right now.
the overall NFC.
Yeah. I think they're kind of, there's a weird 14-year thing that I've seen with them. I think Jordan Love's ready to take that step. I like what they've done. I think the Packers could end up being your representative.
So that would be.
Then you go to San Francisco.
Then you go to San Francisco. I'd say you go to San Francisco.
Well, then you're done.
Yeah. Okay.
You know, we don't think they'd beat any of those teams in a wild card. I mean, the history shows no.
I'm not even totally sure they're making the playoffs.
All right, we'll say
they
lose in a
need to
wild
win
card.
the division.
Yeah.
They absolutely need to win the division.
Okay, and then how about this one? If one of these three could still happen, if one of these 3 players could still be on the Cowboys 3 years from now, who would you want it to be? Dak Prescott, Micah Parsons, or CeeDee Lamb?
CeeDee Lamb.
I'll go Lamb, yeah.
Lamb? Okay.
Yeah. I think Micah plays a position that doesn't age well, and I think we've seen everything from Dak to make me convinced the Cowboys, as the way they team build, won't get over the top with Dak. We need to take our next shot on the quarterback roulette wheel, and hopefully it comes up with a special guy. And there might only be 3 of those in the league right now. So drafting a quarterback, what is that, a 1 in 15, 1 in 20 shot? Your odds are low, but I'd rather have that than more Dak.
I've been through the crap of not having a quarterback.
I know you have. It was tough.
Gosh, you were marinating in that crap.
Yeah, and that's why I'm doing radio today. That and fighting Parcells every damn day.
You were just wallowing in that.
But all you get we get the playoffs, right? You've had the playoffs 3 years in a row, and I think the sentiment from the fan base says that's not good enough. Like, you have a good enough quarterback to make the playoffs. It's about winning the championship.
And you're right, Gavin, because I've lived in fear of those years, Brian. Just as a little kid growing up watching Cowboys football, and it was like, man, we don't have a chance to win it on Sunday. We don't have a quarterback. And then finally Romo gave you hope.
I've also been part of a team that was, it was not 5-11 every year without a quarterback. That's the fact that you can get there with the quarterback. Maybe he's not good enough to put you over the top.
But at least he's giving you a chance.
But he's giving you a chance.
But have we has that been worn out now? Like, are we finally we've
for
had
me,
a chance for 20
I know,
years?
I know it has for you guys. I know it has.
But it's tough.
And I understand what you're saying here, but I've also lived not having a quarterback.
Yeah.
I think the anonymous executives top 10 quarterbacks list on ESPN, I think they gave the fairest Dak assessment.
10th?
When you have but then the quotes from the NFC executive where he's like, Dak, he always does well enough to be in the top 10, but never gets over the hump. He makes all the throws. He's playing the position at a high level, but something's missing. There are a lot of factors in that. running game, play calling, defense. Dallas hasn't won in a long time, but certain guys are going to elevate their team late in the game. Dak doesn't seem to do that. Lacking the high-end ceiling plays the position really well, but not an elite athlete or passer. Mm-hmm. So it's like that's a very fair assessment. It's like you have a good quarterback here.
Very good.
But
okay, this is my thought. Toe-to-toe rookie year Aaron Rodgers, right? Not the reason why they lost that game, right? Just Aaron Rodgers was that much better.
I mean, you did fumble around the entire first half.
Yeah, the first half was awful.
But he did bring him back, and he put him in a chance to win.
Yep.
He went toe-to-toe with Brady. You could say what you want. Brady probably was at the very end.
That's
right?
fine. Still played the best game he's probably played in the playoffs ever.
Versus an under 500 team that was just somebody had to make the playoffs for the worst division of football that year.
So he gets no credit for those two things at all in your guys' mind.
I'm giving him credit for that one because I didn't know that they would even win that game.
But when it comes to evaluating you as a Super Bowl winning quarterback, he gets no credit. You know, you have to make a convincing case, and you know, in that context, you haven't really had a quarterback since Troy Aikman retired in 2001.
They were god awful on defense against the. Now I'll say there's some games against the 49ers where defense played well enough and he needed to step up.
Both playoff games.
I will say that.
First two.
That game against Green Bay last year, that defense and Will McClay, you yelling at me for trying to talk about that Dan Quinn and how unprepared that team looked. Well then, okay, you wear that. Okay, you wear that one. But that defense was god awful in that game last year.
Was
in that Green Bay game.
The whole team was really terrible.
Yeah. So to me, I don't know, man. I think that maybe he's not good enough. Maybe according to you guys, he's not good enough.
He's good enough with
he's
a
good
front
enough not
office
to
that
win.
would go all in.
He's good enough not to win the Super Bowl. According to you guys,
he's just not. Yeah, he's not the difference making. And in his defense, there might be two in the entire league that are.
I mean, and don't get me wrong, because I think a lot of teams that have gone farther than the Cowboys have had much more complete rosters. But his rookie year, he didn't have a defense. Since then, they keep putting him in the playoffs with no running game. And the defense has played poorly at times. So I don't know. Like, you get to January, you have to be able to run and stop the run.
I don't know what to think of him as a playoff quarterback.
How do you think of Kirk Cousins? That's how
Kirk Cousins the same way. I mean, he's just as poor.
Yep.
I mean, if you're basing on records, you gave me a choice between Dak Prescott and Eli Manning. I'm taking Dak Prescott, but Eli Manning's won 2 Super Bowls.
Eli Manning in the playoffs made some insane throws in big time moments.
I don't know if everything in the playoffs is Dak's fault.
Oh, it's definitely not. You know that it's not all his fault.
But the playoffs has become a quarterback win-loss record. That's how it is. No other position is viewed as that, and there's always something. We can go back and say, he didn't have a running game here, he didn't have a defense here. A lot of those teams were really good, and a lot of those teams were good enough. And you didn't get quarterback play against San Francisco 2 years in a row to set you over the top. You didn't.
Yeah.
And so those are the ones that I'm looking at. Green Bay, everything was trash. The previous 2 playoff losses against San Francisco, he was the biggest reason.
But he also had one of his best playoff games in Cowboy quarterback history.
And he played
against the Buccaneers.
And he did it against Seattle as well. And Russell Wilson, who was still a good quarterback at the time, and won that playoff game in 2018 that people don't want to talk about. But then how did he play the next week against the Rams?
I don't know what to think of him. And Dawson could be right about the whole thing about the front office. They haven't given him a good enough team. That could very well be true.
Look at the team Peyton Manning won with. He could barely whip that thing 30 yards. All of his passes look like ducks. He's out there managing games and avoiding mistakes. Dak can do that. Give him a good enough team. Let's get our cap in order over the next 2 years, and if you keep the guy, push the hell all in. Destroy your salary cap intentionally 2 years out to get every single good player you need to try to make this happen.
I think they're probably done with him. I think they're done with him. I don't think they're going to sign him. I think they're going to let this thing ride. And I don't know anything other than what I'm saying a week from being into training camp.
It would surprise me because that would mean they'd prioritize winning the Super Bowl other than winning money. And I think Dak's a ticket into the playoffs and a lot of regular season wins for at least another 5 years.
But so we'd all go with CD though to answer that. Absolutely. Out of the 3.
Yeah.
What grade?
I wouldn't because I've lived.
Would you take Dak?
I've lived without a quarterback. So
you're going to take Dak.
Yeah.
I got you.
Yeah.
What frustrates you most as a Dallas Cowboys fan? This is a fill-in-the-blank answer.
Oh, geez. Well, I mean, it starts at the top. When you start talking about like Dak not being the only problem, he's definitely not the only problem. He just hasn't quite been the solution that you're looking for. And after about a decade, you might be ready to move on from that. But the problems start way above him. And gosh, it's sort of a laundry list. But I think the general thing is just the culture that's there. And as soon as you become a Cowboy, you think that you're an all-star and you're fantastic. And you're going to get all the endorsement deals and you're going to be a superstar, even though you actually haven't had to do anything on the field yet to prove that. And that goes for everybody in the locker room. And so that's a huge thing. You can't identify a head coach really to save your life. And then the quarterback, you get to that point.
Sure.
But I think the culture is the number one thing. It's the country club situation. You become a Cowboy, now you think your S don't stink.
It's hard to argue that. The one constant, because we're talking about playoff failures for your quarterback, and Tony Romo dealt with the same exact thing. The one constant is the Jones family. And I think they do a lot of things right. And I think Jerry's done a lot of great things for the NFL and the sport. But I do think that, it is fair to criticize, based on the lack of championship success, how things are run from the top down when it comes to the football operations.
Yeah, and I wanted to go down that coaching path, but then Chief said you can't identify a head coach, and that puts it right back to the Joneses.
My biggest problem with this football team is the way they sign their players. I hate going through this every year. I hate not having a plan, and now you've got 3 guys up, and and you have no options on your quarterback. You have no trade clause. You have the way they've negotiated these contracts, I think, is an absolute train wreck.
Yeah.
And the way they've gone about it, yes, I think they've identified who the players are. They've got a good roster in a lot of ways. Their inability to sign their players and be ahead of that long term, I think, is killing this organization.
They've tried to be so aloof and like the first guy to speak loses the deal type of mindset, and I think the agents kind of figured out how to counter that. And now they got to reverse their course on the negotiation approach, because it's not creating any value for them with their strategy.
Mm-hmm. Final one, will the Cowboys reach the Super Bowl in the next 5 years? Say yes or a no?
Absolutely not.
Unfortunately.
It's hard to say yes, so,
and you guys are basing that because they're going to change their quarterback out,
well, now
right?
we have now I guess there's much uncertainty.
You guys are saying, hey, they're going to have to switch the quarterback, and this quarterback's not going to get him there in the next 5 years.
Either or.
Yeah,
either scenario.
Or. Yeah.
Or is it just the fact that the front office is not giving you any hope that they can build a Super Bowl team?
There you go.
Yeah, it's very, very difficult. 32 teams out there. A handful of them are optimizing, and they're running circles around a lot of teams.
See, I think
Rams, 49ers, now the Lions.
I think the Cincinnati Bengals are run far worse than your organization.
I agree, and they found the right quarterback.
And they found a way to get there.
So maybe there's hope there, but that's unknown right now, I guess. We just got to pray.